Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalie, and on this channel I like to share what I'm making with you. Happy spring. It is officially spring if you are in the northern hemisphere, and I've just been out and you can tell that there is a bit of an elation amongst everybody at the moment. The weather is super nice. Actually, I was sitting here for a bit knitting, and it's actually pretty warm. And I don't know whether that's because I've been rushing around or because it actually is hot. I'm wearing a shawl that I knitted from some Criselli organic 100% wool, and the pattern is is the Malibu shawl by Isabel Kramer, and I love this shawl. It's the only shawl that I actually have knitted. I thought it was a suitable piece to wear today, but if it gets any warmer, I will have to take it off just to cool off a little bit. That's the only bit of knitwear I'm wearing. I was wearing a sweater. I was wearing the Halibut sweater by Caitlin Hunter, but I was burning up, so I opted for just a shawl. Don't really need it, but I am a little bit sick. I'm just getting over a cold this week, so I thought I would just keep it on just to give myself a little bit more warmth. I am drinking a spicy chai, and I thought I would get myself some spring tulips as well, just to welcome the season. So, knitting updates. What do I have for you? So, today I have no finished objects and only a tiny bit of progress on ongoing whips. So, let's start with what I have in my lap that I was knitting on just before I pressed record. So, this is my Jose hood by Nordgard, and as it's growing, I'm finding that I'm slowing down with it, and this actually will be a theme for this episode, and I'll get into that just a moment. Yeah, so as I said, this project is a little bit slow going. It's actually looking huge. So that's the top. So you start with a rectangle for the top of the head, then you pick up stitches either side, and then you continue knitting backwards and forwards, increasing as you go. And then you knit the scarf portion of the hood. And so as the piece grows, I'm finding that obviously the scarf gets longer and longer. It's taking ages to complete. So I'm just slowing down, I'm enjoying the process, and it's just knit stitches. That's fine. I might knit on it as we speak in a bit. But oh, also, so let me show you what I'm using to knit with it. So I am using one strand of these Biches Bushes brushed mohair silk, and two strands of woolly knit comb, 100% British wool. So I'm holding those together, and I'm getting this kind of fabric. So yeah, I think it will be really warm, although I'm just put it on my lap, and I am wearing black leggings, and it is shedding like mad. So when I wash and block it, I think I will need to really take my time with this just to get rid of the excess fluff. Okay, so next project is my ever-present modern mudcloth by Chinua Matthews, and it's growing, guys. It's growing. So you're looking at the front, and I completed the waist shaping. So I don't know if you can see that, how the vertical lines, the vertical stripe there, the white goes inwards. So hopefully that will be the smallest part of my waist, and then it goes in to accommodate my midriff. And so, yeah, I think I am probably like 20 centimeters from being done. And I think this top will deserve quite a thick ribbing. What do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think, whether I should do a thin rib like the collar or go thick. I'm thinking, I'm leaning towards a thicker. Let me know, because it will be good to weigh up some options for that. But I'm super happy with how it's coming out. Like I said, I'll probably not try it on until I'm about to do the ribbing. I probably won't start the ribbing until I've tried it on. So yeah, I'm happy with the waist shaping. I haven't tried it on yet, but I'm confident that it will be right. Slow going, but it will be worth it in the end, I'm sure. Don't mind me, I'm just winding myself a little yarn ball. I find it quite relaxing when it doesn't pop out of my fingers. But now that I'm looking at this jumper, so I'm realizing that this week I'm wearing it loads, super comfortable. It's the, apart from this little hole here, need to sort that out. But this is one of my iterations of Petite Knit's no frills sweater, but I knitted it with my own gauge using 2 strands of Plotalopi that I had, the white and oatmeal, just held double for this mild effect. In the beginning, I didn't really use it at all, but now I'm using it loads. Like, it's loose, so I think it has, like, I don't know, 10 centimeters of positive ease, but this is an issue, this neckline. So I am considering just taking it in a little bit. So this was a failed attempt a while back to sort this neckline out using elastic, and it did not work at all. It ended up looking like a Victorian ruff, and that wasn't the look I was going for. So I took the elastic out and I just kind of wear it like this. And if I'm going out in the cold, I tend to just put a scarf or a buff on to sort of cover up my t-shirt underneath. But I think if I just take it a little bit in, this t-shirt will be perfect, because I don't usually like sweaters with positive ease, or at least a lot of positive ease, but this one, because it's the unspun yarn, it's loose, it's airy, but yet it's really warm when you need it. So I've been living in it this week. So what I think I need to do is I'm going to pick up stitches, perhaps at a ratio to for every 3 stitches in this ribbing, I'll pick up 1 and do an I-cord to just cinch it in a little bit, because it's now a tried and true method for me to cinch in the necklines after I've knitted the garment. I think it must be something to do with the way I cast on, because I tend to use a cabled cast on, which is quite stretchy cast on. So even though the pattern calls for, let's say, under 100 stitches, which I know should be, from the sample patterns, should be a snug neckline. Mine always ends up a little bit loose. So I need to look a little bit closer at that, because I don't really want to keep adding I-cords to every sweater that I don't, or alternatively knitting a rolled sweater, like a double, a folded, that's what it's called, a folded neckline, folded collar. Don't really want to keep knitting those on every sweater that I knit. So I need to maybe look at my cast on, maybe opt for a tubular cast on, but I don't know how to do those very well. Yeah. But anyway, for now, my solution is to do an I-cord. So I think I'm going to do that later on this evening, and I will check in with you to show you the results a bit later. Peace.
A few hours later.
Hello, I'm back. So my I-cord is done. It's not matching 100% because I didn't use Plötulopi, purely because as an unspun yarn, I think doing an I-cord edging will be possibly asking for trouble, and I just wasn't in the mood to split and splice today. So instead, I dove into my stash and used one strand of Let-Lopi and one strand of some brushed alpaca silk in this kind of brown colour, just to tone down the yellow of the Let-Lopi. And I think they make quite a good pairing. So for every one stitch on the collar ribbing, for every 3 stitches on the collar, I picked up 1. When I bound off, I was a little bit worried that I had done the I-cord a bit too tight, but I think it's fine. And also, after putting it over my head a few times, I'm sure it will loosen up a little bit. But yeah, I'm very happy. It's definitely better than how it was, because a personal dislike of mine, I just don't like to show my under t-shirt. So if any of you guys have a neckline that's a little bit too wide, I would recommend doing a little I-cord edging and picking up fewer stitches than you have in your original neckline, and it tends to cinch it in quite nicely. So a thumbs up for this adjustment. I messed up my tucker tee. My tucker tee is this stripy, scrappy number that I'm working on, and I messed it up. So I am actually in the process of unpicking the ribbing. I knit 7 centimeters of ribbing last weekend, and I'm a little bit disappointed in myself because there are things that I could have done to mitigate this situation, and I spent like a long time on Sunday afternoon unpicking. And I don't know about you, but when I make a mistake on one of my projects, not necessarily knitting related, but in general, if I make a mistake before I leave the project, I like to get it to the point where it's on a sort of upward swing. So, I don't like to leave it at the mistake. I like to sort of go past that point, at least, so I know that I'm on the road to recovery, on the road to solving the issue. So this was what the situation was. In my last episode, I showed you my progress on the tucker tee, and at that point, I think I had knitted like 2 or 3 centimeters of 1x1 ribbing. Problem started there because one, I was eyeballing the shirt and I knew the top, and I knew that I should have knitted it a little bit longer. And because I think I just got excited and I was, wanting to finish it. And so I just started the ribbing, even though I hadn't tried it on, and I was holding up the top thinking, yeah, that should be the right, the right length for me. And then I'll add a few centimeters of ribbing and it'll be fine. Wrong move. So I started the ribbing too early. It was like my first mistake. Second mistake is that so shortly after I recorded the video for last week, I tried it on. And even though it was on needles and the ends of the needles were on barber cords, I thought, okay, this is going pretty well, and it was sitting really nicely. But I think now that I look back on it, I think that was because of the weight of the needle and the weight of the barber cords that made it sit untrue to what the fit actually is. I was under the false impression that the top would be fine. So anyway, when I tried it on, I was like, oh, just a few more centimeters should be absolutely fine for this top because it was sitting right. This top part of the t-shirt was snug and it sort of came out straight, and it was fine. It wasn't too tight around the midriff. So that gave me confidence to put on, I think I put on like 7 centimeters of 1x1 ribbing. And then I took my time on Sunday to do an Italian bind off, and then I tried on what I had, and honey, I could not have bound off and knit the body of this garment at a more unflattering length, like fupacore. But the way this top sits, it makes it look like, yes, that I'm pretty body neutral. I'm not trying to like body shame myself or anything, but Christ Almighty. So anyway, my thing is this: I don't tend to go down a needle size when it comes to the bottom hem ribbing because I don't like that tucked look that smaller needles in ribbing gives you. So I tend to avoid that. And I already didn't meet gauge for this top. So I actually went down a needle size. So I'm using 3.5, and I think the recommended needles are a 3.75 for this t-shirt. So I did the ribbing in 3.5 needles, the same where I'm at with this now. I'm currently unpicking this ribbing. I really had to cut it because there was nothing happening to persuade this Italian bind off to unravel so that I can retain most of the yarn. So I'm trying to retain as much as I can by manually unpicking every single stitch. Now you can see that it is actually on the needles, but I wasn't thinking straight, and I essentially shoved a needle through. So where I saw that the brown ribbing began, shoved the needle through. Luckily, it's clear to see because at that point I did one round just before I started the ribbing. I did one round of a separate color, so it's easy. But I only stupidly I only picked up knit stitches of the ribbing, and so I need to go back with another 3.5 needle and pick up both the knit stitch and the purl stitch. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't have too much to go, just that much. It's a blessing in a tedious disguise because I can now add a bit more length before I start the ribbing. But what I think I will do is do the ribbing on 4mm needles. So that's where we're at with the tucker tee. But on a positive note, mind you, I have made some progress on the sleeves. I'm showing this, but I'm like, oh my god, look at how it's coming out on camera. But to be honest with you, it looks bad. It's coming out quite rough, like the fabric. but I'm quite happy with it still, because I think that when it's blocked, because this everything I'm using is natural fibers, I think once it's blocked it will smooth out the stitches a bit nicer, and so I should end up with nice contiguous fabric. If not, I'm not mad at it. But what I actually need is a well-fitting top, and at the top part I have no complaints. It just needs to be longer. So I think I'm not going to tackle that until the weekend, I think, because I have a lot of other things to get done. But anyway, that's the update on the Tucker tee. So I will put this back in timeout just for a few more days.
Go away, scary monster, go away. Go away.
I would like to talk about consumption, overconsumption, and inspiration, staying inspired with creativity. So I'm just going to knit on my hood, and yeah, so I hope you can humor me as I process my thoughts on the matter. But the other day I was looking at my cupboard where I store all of my hand makes, and it is getting pretty full. And like, I don't know if other creators or knitters, fiber artists, crocheters go through this, but if you love making, obviously you want to make. But the problem is that when you also share your makes online on YouTube, on Instagram, etc., I think there is this pressure to always have something new to show and to discuss, etc., to, I guess, appease the algorithm. So, like I said before, I would like to slow down with my makes and not give in to that pressure to always have new projects to show, or act or progress to share with you on a weekly basis. Because while I am enjoying uploading more frequently, I'm very much conscious that I don't always have a new project or yarn to share with you to make content. But that is not my intention, and it's not the reason why I started this channel. Conversely, if I keep that mentality in check, I find that slowing down and placing limitations on, one, my spending, two, my consuming, because when I look at other channels or other profiles in the knitting community, there is a tendency to always have new projects on the go, and to show new yarn every week, and that's great. If people are living like that, if they are able to afford it, then by all means, we all make our choices in life. But that is not my situation. So I find that placing a limitation with regards to, one, my time, my resources, my mental capacity, placing a limitation on that can be a real positive thing. So what I mean by that is, if I give myself, let's say, a stipend to buy something relating to my making, so that could be yarn, that could be paper, printer ink, whatever it is, then resisting the urge to purchase yarn for new projects and opting perhaps to spend that money elsewhere, let's say books to learn new techniques or courses to learn, workshops, whatever it is, new materials for a different kind of hobby. This might be a little bit more strategic because I have yarn, I have a small stash. And so that's why this year I'm trying not to buy any new yarn, and all my projects I'm trying to stash dive, because often when you place limitations on yourself, what can spark creativity? For me, conversely, another limitation, time constraints. But I found that giving myself the challenge to show up on a weekly basis and put out a video every week, it has actually sparked my creativity, because I'm looking at my current projects, my sweaters and my hood, and maybe I knit a few centimeters on it, but I feel like that's not really enough to share, or I don't really want to sit every week and just talk about the 2 centimeters that I've knitted. However, that has made me investigate new stitches and knit a swatch and see what I can do with it with my phone. So, in a way, creating these videos, putting that limitation of time and resources, not by going out and buying new yarn, but seeing what I actually have and making something new with it. And that has really inspired me, and that has helped me to practice gratitude with the resources that I already have. And it has also inspired me to look up or investigate new skills. For example, I love stop motion animation. And if there is a way for me to combine what I love to do, knitting, so knitting up a swatch and putting and making it into a stop motion as part of like the transition for one of my weekly videos, I'm here for it. That's really something has that has excited me over the last few weeks. So I probably will continue to investigate those kinds of mediums. But all that to say is that sometimes, watching some creators share copious amounts of projects and progress and new yarn and all that, this, that, and the other is good. But if that is not our particular predicament, then there are other ways to reframe our own situations and appreciate the resources that we are rich in. And being rich is not always about money. It's also the ability to think another way and to be open-minded about life. So that's my TED talk. In other news, it is my husband's, is that the right way to say it? It is our wedding anniversary this weekend on Sunday. It's our 6th-year anniversary. And today I've been out gathering some supplies for our celebration, and next week my husband has booked us a day out. We will go to a health spa and have some lunch out. So that will be quite exciting. So it was my job to organize the weekend's activities. And so I purchased this set. So I thought it would be a really cool activity to do some painting. This is a really cool set that I found, and it essentially features two of everything. So you get two sets of 12 acrylic paint colors. You get like two sets of brushes, two easels, six blank canvases, so three each, two mixing palettes, and yeah, so basically two of everything. And so I think we're going to turn our dining room into a little art studio. I cannot paint for shit, but I do enjoy it, and I know that my husband is more of a science maths kind of person, so I think letting him loose on some painting will be pretty cool as well. So I think we're going to do like a paint and sip afternoon, and he will cook us dinner as well. So that's what we will get up to this weekend. And again, it's sparking creativity. So instead of, for example, buying yarn for new projects, I invested in some paints that I can use again and again and explore that aspect of, or explore that activity. So yeah, I hope you all have an amazing first weekend of spring. Let me know in the comments what you get up to or what you plan to get up to, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.